are live.
We're a video game podcast now.
Hello, welcome to Twitch TV.
This is the Duck Duck Grey Duck Twitch stream with no video.
Welcome
We're just going to describe to you what's happening. Chris, kick it off. What have you done?
For shit we did. So on Friday night, my dad dragged me to a show at our Orpheum Theater called The Illusionists. And it was like 5 magicians. It was like on Broadway, and it's like this magician show that is traveling around. So I saw a magic show on Friday.
Is the Illusionists like the aristocrats? Like they're all fucking each other, but you can't tell who's doing which one because they all have different disguises on?
No, it's more like 50-year-old white men. No, not even 65-year-old white men with 2 young guys who are like the headliners, but they needed like other people who are good at magic to fill in, and everyone else just happens to be 55-year-old white men. It was actually really cool. Yeah.
Did you feel like you were in the Prestige?
It did feel very. That was the air. One guy was going for a Prestige kind of tone, and like, I don't know, maybe it would work if I didn't know how the trick worked. But it was fun, yeah.
I wonder both at what age like magic starts to be cool again, and then also at what age magicians become hot.
Not age, it's income.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I was talking to my friends right after I went, and I was like, it was actually pretty cool. And I think it's also how talented the magician is. So like magic is cool when you're little, and it's cool to do magic when you're little. Then like when you just get to like, I don't know, 13, it's uncool if you're really bad, and really uncool if you're really good. And that continues until like, I don't know, your 20s maybe. And then if you're really, really freaking good, it's kind of cool. But only if you don't like talk about it all the time.
All right, so we're a magic podcast now. We're going to alternate between magician magic and Magic the Gathering.
Nice.
Oh, I really like that idea.
What do you say, Kyle?
It was a bad joke. It's fine.
Okay.
All right, Connor, what'd you do this week?
On air portion, I watched my aunt and uncle's dog, who we found out gets incredible anxiety when she's separated from her real life parents. So,
guys, can I pause for a sec? I need to get the headphones. I just realized.
Yeah.
Why am I so comfortable?
Oh, so she was naughty.
Oh, she puked all over the carpet.
Oh.
And yeah, she was being really naughty. She wouldn't let me walk her the whole weekend. So she got no exercise. I like would take her out into the yard, and I would like, throw her a ball and stuff, and she wouldn't run to it. She'd just like walk over to it and look at it, and then just like look back up at me and be like, what should I do with this? What's the point? There's no purpose. And she would just depression nap for most of the day.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm like, this dog. So I like took her into work though, and that was the happiest. She had to go into work on Saturday for just like a couple hours. And it was the happiest that she'd been all weekend because she had like a dozen people just paying attention to her. And it was also very sad, the happiest everyone in the office has ever been. I successfully brought the office to a halt for 7 minutes and had multiple people say, this is the happiest I've ever been in this building.
Oh.
I'm like, I have to get out of here. So off-air portion of what's going on this week. So Chris knows this. Mary and I have not been doing good this year.
Sorry.
It's like, yeah, we've just been like fighting a lot, and she's just like not being communicative. And so we got into like a really, really intense, like definitely our worst fight on Friday. And I was basically just like, I'm kind of done talking to you. This is how you're going to treat me. So let me know when you're ready to change. And then she called me she like sent me a text message because I really need to call you tomorrow. Like I figured something out. And I'm like, I'm fucking sure. So then she called on Sunday. she started a new medication at the end of November, and she did some research into it, and one of the effects is like really, really intense mood swings and like various mental health issues. So she got off that, and like even just like with 2 days, she's sounding like so much better and like a lot more like herself. So
that's great news.
yeah, so that's a relief. Yeah, definitely really good news.
Meds are scary.
Meds are scary, and so like we still got some stuff we got to figure out when it comes to like med school and what's going on next year and like how that would impact a future ever. But like it gets a bit easier when we're both coming from like a positive place to figure out what we're going to do about it. Yeah. So all in all, good weekend. Sweet. Oh, and I got a new phone case and a new wallet, and then I tucked in and they're like real people phone cases and wallets. And then I tucked in my shirt before my negotiation meeting on Monday, and I just felt like a real businessman. And then today I went in and slept for an hour this morning at my desk. I fucking hate this. Like, I'm very glad that I got a raise. I'm glad that, I've been like doing well and stuff like that. I'm just so fucking bored. Working sucks. I'm a child.
Oh, it's okay. I feel the same way.
I turned my phone off at work today and instantly realized how much I require to be constantly entertained.
Oh my God, right?
I'm like embarrassed by how much less productive I am as an adult than I was as a teenager.
Oh, right. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm on my phone all the time at work.
Current me would not have gotten into college.
Oh no.
It's just the case.
No. I feel like everyone feels like that, but oh my God.
I have put off getting health insurance for almost the entire 90 days that the special enrollment gives me. I have until a week from Sunday.
Kyle.
I know, but it's so expensive. It's so confusing. Expensive. I haven't been to a doctor ever in Connecticut. They keep asking me about my doctor.
Yeah.
Did Connor get...
Connor.
Oh, hold on. Okay. Am I back?
Were you garroted?
Yeah.
What's our special name for each other?
Ooh. So I'm Cronum. I don't like it, but that's who I am.
That's not right. He's a robot! The correct answer was Shakuskus.
Shakuskus. Yes, that's right. I'm Shakuskus in this group, and I'm Cronum in the 5 Quad group. I was about to say group chat, but no, I'm called that in real life as well. Oh, did you guys fill out your A24 brackets?
No.
Kyle. Chris.
You sent it to a group me in a non-editable format.
Yeah, I was like,
could have written it down on a piece of paper.
Connor, I don't think you understand. It's Holy Week. I'm a church musician. All right, this is what I did this week.
No, here, Kyle, when you're pretending to pray, you can fill it out. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Personal insult that you don't consider my secular humanism to be a practice that requires deep attention. So what I did this week, people who are listening to this still for some God-forsaken reason.
Oh yeah, Chris, make sure you edit that Mary Chandler stuff out, please.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Shit we did is not. Is shit we did a recurring segment or no?
I didn't.
Yeah, we've done it every week since I got this harmonica.
I thought we just did it to be friends. I've never heard it in one of the pods.
It's a warm up. It's fine. It's our Patreon bonus when they make a bad fan-funded documentary about us.
Oh my God!
So they don't have to hire a shitty narrator. We'll get there.
Oh, okay.
So what I did this week was basically nothing but church. I sing with an Episcopal children's choir. I actually sing with 2 Episcopal children's choirs because I am that level of old person trapped in a young person's body.
I'm just imagining a bunch of 5-year-olds all singing in their little kid voice, and then just Kyle in the back row drowning all of them out, standing 2.5 times their height
and about 4 times their width. It's literally like Snorlax and Pokemon Trainer. Like, it's really funny. No, I'm one of 8 adult section leaders in each choir. I will have you know. Yeah, so it's like I go to church after work, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. Then you have 2 rows of these impossibly like Children of the Corn-esque Episcopal kids that are just pitch robots. The boys' choir are all unchanged voices, which means like the oldest one there is 14, and they read music better than I do. I have a degree in music from an Ivy League university. It is positively dehumanizing how much better they don't realize it because they're automatons. But basically all I did this week was stand in awe of how cool children's brains are. Because, like, some people learn a foreign language. Some people learn social adjustment. And some people just assimilate perfectly how to sing. It's just... Ugh. And I will be at church every evening until the good Lord has risen on Sunday. Which, since this won't be posted in a timely manner because we're like three in the hole, that's like 5 days from now.
And from the time you're listening to this, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, we'll see.
We'll see. There's a long backlog.
We still have to post our hilariously prescient Oscars podcast.
Yeah,
we don't. I don't think we have to do that.
I think we do because we nailed it. We got a lot of them right.
We did.
We still have to listen to Xena and Herc, so I can post that.
Cute.
All right.
Will do.
Okay,
this is Van Shit We Did.
Yay. I'm going to a citywide Oscar or The Office trivia tomorrow. Very excited for it. Isaiah Genesee and I, if you guys remember him, we're probably going to be a duo. And I'm trying to think if there is something that we can do that's related to Daryl and Jim that isn't racist. But I'm not sure.
Who's Jim?
The white one, me.
I've actually only seen The Office like 2 times, so
okay.
I'm astonished that I knew how to make a joke out of that.
You could what is it, Jim? That I mean, I'm sure everyone's gonna do it, but Jim for Halloween, he
3-hole punch Jim.
No, or 3-hole punch Jim, and then there's another one where he just wears a
Dave.
Dave. He's just Dave for Halloween.
I like Dave. That's a good one.
All right. So do we want to keep this episode short and sweet?
It won't be sweet.
I think we could probably get a good 30-45 minutes because I'm sure that we'll like devolve into our experiences like boys at college playing Smash and shit. And then there's a lot to talk about with how this was made, how it depicts the game, and how it depicts the culture around it, which are all all go in very different directions. So I think we'll get a good 45 out of this.
Let me diagram every episode of this show for you.
I just didn't
want to start off with the 2 talking points that we care about, and then it becomes us yelling at each other. And I have a lot to yell at, Chris. You made us watch 4 hours of Smash Brothers.
Okay, we save. Okay,
well, we watched maybe 30 minutes of Smash Brothers and 3.5 minutes of nerds talking.
To be fair, they time lapsed all of the freaking Smash Brothers parts.
Oh my god! And okay, Chris, start it because we have to talk about the editing too. Good lord, do we need to talk about the editing? Oh god! Fucking film major. Sorry, go ahead.
Copy.
Hello and welcome to the Duck. I'm gonna pull the
one more time with feeling.
Fucking up.
Do we want to? Yeah, we just want to call it "Welcome to Duck Gradic," right? Not the Duck Gradic podcast. That's what we decided.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing? Okay, whatever.
I mean, it doesn't really matter. Google. We are now.
That was not meant to be passive aggressive. I legitimately did not know we'd made a decision on that.
Oh no, Connor had just mentioned to me that because I just been writing everything as the Duck Gradic podcast, and then
I honestly think from a trademark defense perspective, incorporating the Duck Gradic movie podcast, while it completely demystifies the title, protects us a bit more than Duck Gradic. Like I said, when we first discovered our evil doppelgangers, the likelihood that a year dead 2 Year Dead podcast about Minnesota, where the last episode they talked about was Oscars So White, is probably infinitesimally small, the chance that we're going to get any sort of feedback from them.
Oh, yeah. I'm very not. I actually found the guy on Facebook, though, his profile, if we're at all concerned.
Ooh, we should,
I could get coffee with him.
When we do our meta review of the other podcast, we can do a full archival bio.
Oh, man. All right.
I kind of wish we'd done the meta podcast idea with this one, like a podcast about the making of a podcast. So then we could make it anyway.
Yeah, I'm down to just do Duck Duck Grey Duck, and if we get a cease and desist, we'll deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Hello and welcome to another installment of Duck Duck Grey Duck, the movie podcast that brings together three wayward Midwesterners around films good, films bad, and films altogether beyond description. Each week we pass along the title of Grey Duck from person to person, and whatever they say goes or quacks. I'm Kyle, and I'm...
No, you're not.
I'm reading.
Oh man, you're like Ron Burgundy. You don't read anything.
Hi, my name is Kyle Pika. I would like to assert a copyright claim against the makers of Duck Duck Grey Duck.
Sorry, we're the Duck Duck Grey Duck podcast.
We're the Duck Duck Grey Duck podcast movie experience machine.
Oh my god, the Duck Duck Grey Duck experience would be so funny.
I'm seeing like this is Spinal Tap moments. Like we just build a giant Grey Duck and burn it to the ground.
That's awesome.
Oh my god. Hello and welcome.
God damn
Sorry.
it.
I'm catching like a deathly cold in the worst possible week.
Hello and welcome to another installment of Duck Duck Grey Duck, the movie podcast that brings together three wayward Midwesterners around films good, films bad, and films altogether beyond description. Each week we pass the title of Grey Duck from person to person, and whatever they say goes, or quacks, or whatever the joke is. I'm Chris, your Grey Duck for the week, and this week we are talking about The Smash Brothers, a 9-part YouTube documentary that chronicles the early years of the Super Smash Bros. Melee competitive scene. A fan-made documentary, I might add. And so let's jump right in and hear what Connor and Kyle's thoughts are and what they think the documentary was about. So Connor, do you want to start?
Sure. So this documentary was definitely a test of endurance. Clocking in at almost 2 director's cuts Lord of the Rings movies, with a budget of $12,000 that I think they spent at some point in the process, was a bit of a trip. I hated it for the length and for the terrible production quality and for the narrator who couldn't decide if he was trying to be David, what the fuck's that guy's name? David Attenborough. Yeah, couldn't decide if he was trying to be David Attenborough or like, damn it, I had a good line for this I should have written down. All right, scratch this. The narrator who just tried to do some weird off nature documentary voice that was really annoying. And I don't know. So I actually kind of liked learning about the history of the development of this game that was very much not built to be competitive, that was just built to be a casual like family game. And it was cool to see how like the weird networks of the sort of early internet made this huge phenomena happen. The worst part is when it interviewed all of the people who were involved with it, who are all just like the exact sort of people you think would organize nationwide Super Smash Brothers Melee tournaments. Yeah. This is a documentary that would have been much, much better as a long-form article.
Kyle?
Are you done, Connor?
Yeah, I was going to say, so like, I actually thought the content was kind of interesting. Everything about the execution of the presentation of the content was rough.
Yeah. Okay. So My thoughts. I think this continues the trend of Chris giving us things and telling us they're movies and they're not movies.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is another
I'm
lie.
sorry.
Another violation of the compact of the podcast. I found it was like pretty enjoyable. I missed the memo where you told us it was fan made, apparently, because I watched the entire 9 episodes. Kill the dog. Kill the dog.
Oh, don't kill it.
I'm kidding. I love dogs. I'm just tired. Where was I?
Fan made.
Yes. I missed the note that it was fan made, so I was watching the whole thing, being like, Nintendo made this? What? We can't get them to do a cross-platform game, but they made this. So, like, learning that it was fan made sort of revises. I must revise my opinion in light of that. I think it's fairly impressive on a couple of levels as a documentary. The first of which that they were able to make it on $12,000, which, like, once you get to a low enough budget, I just sort of assume that you're not spending the money on the movie. Like, I feel like that $12,000 mostly went to delivery pizza to keep them alive during the period where they weren't working and instead traveling around to interview Smash players. I think, like, as a documentary artifact, it's really interesting seeing the sort of media that was recorded at the time. Like, who the heck was just walking around with a video camera recording people playing a video game? I thought it was just really interesting to see, like, who did that and the sort of things that they found remarkable. And that sort of leads to, like, my thoughts in the whole documentary is, like, the explicit subject of it is a video game, which is interesting. In seeing, like, how a video game maker can, like, accidentally create a phenomenon, and, like, how art, if you're going to go so far as to call Smash Brothers art, can outpace and move beyond the intended scope. Even in spite of your best intentions. This is sort of like a post-structuralist argument for video games. On the second level, like, the intended subject of the documentary might have been Smash itself and Smash competitive players, but I thought that the real interesting part of the documentary was clearly what the documentarian did not intend to show, which is the sort of culture within Smash Brothers being really, really, like, masculinist in a non-traditionally masculinist way. And I think there's a lot to tease out of, like, the unintentional revelations that this documentary makes about the community that helped create it. As is the case with, amateurs, often it's not the thing that they produce that's the most interesting. It's the way that they produce it, right? So, like, I found this enjoyable. I definitely agree with some of the stuff Connor brought up. Like, at the beginning, before it became clear that Smash Brothers was going to be this huge thing and there'd be tournament scenes and prize money and all that, like, they had to resort to a narrator to make a coherent narrative out of the archival stuff that they had. And that, I thought, was the weakest part. I definitely agree in the accent. I at moments it's fake British. Like, at one point he pronounces the state of Indiana, which is just, no one has ever called it that on no continent ever. At other times I thought maybe he's like he could be a Japanese speaker, right? He talks about Yu Yu Hakusho as Yu Yu Hakusho. Like, he devocalizes the U, which is something that might possibly be Japanese. And he, like, over enunciated every single T. State of the art projector, in a way that I found, like, immensely grating. And just, like, the use of narrative gradually gives way to this much more interesting archival element, where it's primarily told through interviews and cross-cutting and the sort of footage that Major League Gaming produced. I think, yeah, gradually got stronger in terms of a piece of documentary. But yeah, like, would I watch this again? Probably not. Do I, as like a casual like Smash on the Wii U player, enjoy the subject matter? Sure. But like, it's fine.
Yeah. I would say the people who have already seen this movie are the ones like they've achieved their target audience already. Like the people who are going to watch it have watched this movie. I would not probably recommend it to any listeners. Yeah, so
if you're a listener on this podcast, you can turn us off now. Thanks for tuning in.
unless Mary Beth Izquierda is following along. She knows who she is.
Oh God. Stupid. All right, keep going.
So, yeah, I'm sorry that I made you guys watch this movie. In my defense, like 2 episodes in, I was like, guys, we can change. Like, this is terrible. And they were like, no, let's keep going.
No, we hadn't started yet.
Okay. Well, I offered 2 episodes in.
I binged watched this. And I was like, Chris, what have you done? Why have you forsaken me?
I had to spread this out over 3 days. I couldn't do it all in one
I
sitting.
did
I had
too.
to spread Bionicle out over 3 days. Can you imagine?
I promise my next movie will be
Nope, don't
enjoyable.
promise it, because we're doing the Nick Cage series next. Spoiler for any of the listeners.
It'll be enjoyable. All right. So I think you both bring up some really good points. Do we want to talk about form first?
Sure.
And then subject matter. So I think I stopped taking notes by the 3rd episode because I was just like, this is just...
There were 9 episodes.
I started taking notes probably in the 3rd or 4th episode when they started getting into the like really yikesy stuff.
I didn't take any notes. I took like 2 Advans and hoped I'd make it through this. Chris marked that time, edit that joke out. That was just for us.
Oh, I don't know.
Flying Xanax.
All right, we'll find it.
We'll find it.
We'll do it in post.
We'll do it live. So like outline the structure for people that have not subjected themselves to the whole thing. So
Yeah.
the Smash Brothers starts with an episode that sort of provides a little bit of context, talking about like when the game came out, like the very, very beginnings of competitive play. And then the remainder of the series is sort of at the macro level outlined as like a deep dive into one of the top 7 or 8 competitive players. I think it really winds up being like 10 players that they go into some depth about, but there's like a canon of great players that they're using to outline the whole thing. And it's very linear in that regard. This episode's going to be about Ken. The next episode's going to be about Asin. And it just sort of goes linearly through. And like on a like meta level, I don't know if that's the best way to tell the story. It's like certainly if you're like thinking about how to tell the story of Smash and you're specifically focused on the competitive aspect, this is like one of the first ideas that'll come into your head, right? There wasn't a ton of through line to it. Like the main through line is that these people keep bumping into each other, right? Which has the makings of a really interesting documentary, but like it's interesting to think about what the documentary explicitly said it was going to focus on and what it did.
You mind if I jump in real quick? So yeah. I think Ken is actually seen as the through line for the first maybe 4 or 5 episodes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because he's like, indisputed, or he's like the undisputed champion. So while it might talk about Asin and Isaiah at the beginning, like Ken is always there and you always see that he's coming out on top. But once Ken starts to fall off, it really becomes... It falls apart, both because at that point the movement got big enough to have multiple, champions at the same time, multiple competing people, but also Ken just, dropped off the map, and he'd been our kind of protagonist, though, I do want to come back
Antagonist,
to
yeah.
Antagonist, yeah, how he's portrayed despite being like.
Well, they can't make up
game.
their mind. Every episode completely changes the narrative perspective to whoever they're profiling. Which, I mean, it's sort of, it makes sense because it's, you know, ostensibly archival. It's based on interviews. I guess that's not archival. It's just interview based. But like the problem with that is that while you're getting a bunch of perspectives, we don't actually get what the documentary thinks because they don't interject anything like a through line of their own. And given that these people are, you know, still mostly in their 20s, it's
which is nuts.
While we're on the subject of the arc of the documentary kind of falling apart at a couple places, we need to take this moment to congratulate Wife for being the only effective conveyors of ideas that are not immediately adjacent to up, up, down, down, left, left. Like, good God.
And
Wife, also listening, you're invited to be a guest of the show.
Wife, who also has an awesome Twitter where he talks about like mental health stuff and politics in addition to Smash things and organizing things and trying to like make sure everyone's having fun with it. I'll say he was both the only truly sufferable person who was interviewed through this, maybe PC Chris, but also I think the personal hero of everyone watching this who is not a Smash player.
Well, yeah, and I think there's something really fascinating about him, which is like he is definitely the audience cipher because he sort of fell out of competitive play early. Like it's episode 3 or 4 where he starts to say, yeah, at this point, like I was already starting to be outstripped by these people. Like he's one of the only people that was humbled sort of in the middle of their career, but stayed on as sort of like a competitive player, yes, but you see him doing a bunch of like announcing.
I wonder.
And it's like he's the custodian of the internal Smash narrative in some ways. A not entirely reliable one because he, of course, has his own, you know, ego-driven, like I hate Kenisms, but like he is sort of the inside version of the story that Samox is trying to tell to outsiders, though he himself, Samox, the dude who made the movie, is obviously enmeshed in Smash culture. So the story that's told is mostly Wife and Samox.
I wonder if what do you guys think if that has anything to do with the age? Because Wife, from what it looks like and the way he kind of talked about it, is a little bit older than everybody else. So he was kind of going through the culture that they were, the hyper masculine, I would call toxic culture that they were all kind of going through.
They're not masculine though. They're like masculinist, right? Like this, when we get onto the subject, maybe we're going to get onto it now. Like this is proof positive that if you remove every aspect of culture, people will still find a way to like turn it into a whose dick is bigger contest, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I went on a whole screed about this right after we got done watching, and like part of the thing that I'm sure makes Smash so appealing, particularly competitive Smash to these players, is like a lot of the traditional routes that you use to sort of prove your mettle in society are not necessarily available to, you know, wiggly-armed nerds.
And even like this was made in like 2011 or 2012 was when the first interview started happening. So Ken and actually Wife as well, who are the same age, were around 27 or so. So you imagine the other people are between probably 25 and 30 who are being interviewed. Ken is still bitter about specific matches that he played when he was 19 years old and is remembering certain specific details about them. I think the thing that we're going to run into, which is going to be the limiting factor with this, is that none of us are really sports boys. And you wonder if when like the greats of like, you know, physical sports are sat down to talk about things like this, like early games in their careers, that they flopped, or, you know, the moment that, yeah, I don't know, like the moment that even though like Kobe Bryant ended pretty strong, like there was definitely a downturn in his popularity and his ability to play. You wonder if he thinks about things like this too, and if he'll say them out loud, if he does, sorry. So if he feels these things at all, or if he's able to just keep looking forward and look past whatever had happened before, or B, if because sports are a more ingrained part of our culture where these athletes are given more media coaching, if he knows not to talk about these things. Whereas something like Melee, there is kind of an arrested development in all these players. Like they all, like there was no media coaching. The MLG is not going to pay for people to be like, all right, when you're talking, like, look here, don't say these things, try and speak with like, these sorts of verbs and words and things like that. It's an insular culture built around a video game and built around like keeping a very small, tight knit group of people. Like I don't know, they didn't have the opportunity to sort of become graceful in front of a camera while they're on mic. So
right, it like gives you a window into petty competition, right? Like without all that coaching, without a ESPN infrastructure around it, like I think you're absolutely right that there's like a deeper humanistic commentary on competition in here. But yeah, it's really fascinating. I think, like, again, when we get on the topic, there's more to say on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because we were talking about form.
Yeah.
So
I did outline this, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very jarring. I think it was somewhere around episode 4 or 5 when we jumped to 2012, and then for me the form didn't work very much at all. I kind of enjoy the first episode, and the next few, when they're documenting the careers of kind of Asin and Isaiah, it follows a very linear structure in that early, when there were basically like 10 good players who just kept playing each other, when they were kind of chronicling the East Coast or the West Coast, what do they call them? Not squads, crews. And I actually enjoyed that a lot because it was like a very, I think the documentary should have just kind of focused on those 8, you know what I mean? Those smaller crews. Because like I think Connor, you said it just kind of starts to fall apart when I think, when Korean DJ and PC Chris are introduced, there's just not much carrying it anymore. And it gets really, like, we jump to Evo 2013 in like the last episode, but we were just at 2012 in like episode 5, but then we go back to like 2008 or 2009 in episode 6, and it makes following along these like specific competitions particularly difficult.
At a certain point, it starts to feel like you're reading off their Smash stats, like who got third in what competition, right? I think like a non-linear narrative might have benefited them, because like if you're going to try to tell 8 different stories using 20 people's opinions, like it might have been helpful to start with like Smash at its absolute peak. Like the MLG thing in Vegas very much felt like a peak of the Smash story. And like starting with that and like setting the stakes for the narrative might have given them something to build through while they're going through all of the arcana of what Smash became and how it became it. If they're going to go the route of, again, having such a broad focus for the documentary. I agree. I think like as a piece, the beginning works the best, but I do think there's something to be teased out in the sort of mid-career players too. Like, again, it was Wife that made it clear, but like the 3-part balance between Korean DJ, Mewtwo King, and
PC Chris.
I thought that was really interesting. There's like a beginning, a middle, and a late stage to this. The beginning was the best told, but had the least amount of stuff to work with. The middle was like unsatisfying because you didn't really understand why they were using these 3 characters the way they were. And then the ending was sort of utterly unsatisfying because it was just sort of like an anointing of Mango while completely tearing down like
Hungry
the
Bucks.
whole, well, it was
Oh,
like, it
never
was
mind.
like, well, it's, yeah, Hungry Bucks as well, but like also the whole game. It was very like wah wah. Melee has seen better days. Like the Wii U has ruined everything.
Yeah.
Actually,
I also
Brawl
think
ruined everything, but
Yeah, I do think, Chris, what you're saying, like having them go with the cruise would have been a more compelling story, and also, yeah, leads into that, like the trifecta of champions a lot better when you
Mhm.
sort of focus on like the weird tribalism that like the intensity to which people clung to East Coast and West Coast
It's so strange.
It's so strange given how isolated so many of these people seem to have been before Smashwords became a thing. I'd also like to say, and you know what, I'm going to go ahead and speak on behalf of the Duck Duck Grey Duck podcast. The lack of representation of Midwestern and Southern teams was a travesty and definitely knocks this down one duck point. Because they mentioned that they existed and that there were crews from the South and crews from the Midwest. Where were they? What's the guy's name? Who made this? Mewtwo something? No.
The guy who made it,
Yeah.
his real name is
Smamix?
Travis Bouchamp.
Yeah, Travis, what the hell?
Beauchamp? Did you say Bouchamp?
I said
Bouchamp.
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 So at what, Connor, it's funny that you mentioned that, because at one point, I think the West Coast, it might be either the West Coast guys or the people from the Midwest, but they refer to the East Coast crew as the East Coast elites. Referring to the best Super Smash Bros. Melee players, and I thought that was very enjoyable.
That's really funny.
The global,
The
presents the Smash Brothers. Can we bring back Pokemon Alex Jones?
Okay, cut this out. Triple parentheses Smash Brothers. And triple parentheses as in going up against Ken.
Oh man.
Yeah, cut that out. That's not good.
Where were we before we got into Twitter?
The misrepresentation of Midwesterners.
Oh, well, let's be real. In 2006, 2007, we were still, trying to figure out how windmills worked. So, like,
that's true.
I don't know about you, but I did not have a Nintendo. Is that what they're called? When I was growing up?
Well, you grew up on the farm, right?
Yeah, but like we had electricity.
I was definitely in like suburban video game culture when I was a kid. Though it was we were a PlayStation 2 neighborhood.
We were two. I remember getting Battlefront and Battlefront 2 and becoming obsessive about it. But like,
yeah.
That was a Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advance and PlayStation 2.
Game Boy Advance, Nintendo 64.
I went straight from color to DS in college.
In college?
I needed something to get me through tours.
Oh, that's a pretty smart idea, actually.
Nothing kills an airplane ride like Civilization or Pokemon.
Oh, I love Pokemon.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about our personal relationship with Smash?
That's how let's put an interjection in before we get to the shooting gallery.
That's how it's going to open. I forgot to ask you that question.
Yeah, let's do it now.
Who is your main?
Oh, good question. Which version are you talking?
Let's do Melee and Smash 4.
What is Smash 4?
The one for Wii U.
Okay.
The one that you
play. Chris, go ahead.
I actually didn't play a ton of Melee growing up. So I kind of have this odd relationship with Melee where it's like my least favorite of the Smash games that people actually play. I grew up playing Smash 64, so I mained now I main Mario and Link with some Pikachu thrown in there sometimes.
What is maining?
It's like who you play the most, or who's like your main guy.
Okay, so these are characters.
Yeah, so actually no, my friend has the DLC for the Smash for Wii U game, and I play a new character called Core something.
Corrin?
Not Corrin.
Corrin. It's a
Connor,
kernel of corn.
Look up the.
Okay.
Our main here is soybeans, but corn comes in handy when the soil's built up enough nitrogen that you can sustain it.
And that's what all the Midwestern crews sounded like.
They showed up with a bunch of cows and chickens. Like, what have you guys been doing?
We're gonna smash these cows together, right?
These cows are gonna smash. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a big cow at the end.
It only took us 25 minutes. So we're at Bovine Show. Good podcast, boys.
I am always the person to take it there, and that's my niche.
It's your niche. You take it to bovine fucking, and I take it to something about the Iraq War. So we've all got our talents.
Chris takes us to horrible pieces of not film.
No, Chris takes us to Audacity and edits us.
It's fine. We give you shit because that's what this podcast was ordained to do. But
guys, I do enjoy good movies.
Prove it.
We'll see. Let's see. So yeah, I actually didn't play much Melee growing up either, and I struggle with it because a lot of the people who enjoy playing it are really good at it.
Yeah.
I played a lot of Brawl growing up, actually. So normie, noob, weeb Connor. In middle school, I got stupid good with Ice Climbers and Diddy Kong. They were my mains. And because I knew I'd never be able to learn like a fast character when I started playing Melee, mostly like late high school and then a lot in college, I just decided to learn characters that were slow and like off meta, but that I could get really good at because it made people who play like the on meta characters so mad when you beat them. So my mains are Ness and Donkey Kong for Melee. And I am out of this world with Ness. Like when I'm playing against someone who, I don't know, like friend of the show, what's Kyber's nickname?
Kaiba Goat Herder was the last one. We should give him one that isn't obvious. Like Kelly
Kelly Sherbert.
Kelly Sherbert.
Yeah, so like Kelly Sherbert would just
need to be gender neutral from now on.
Okay, fair enough. Would Kelly Sherbert would absolutely destroy me, but playing against other people who are like casual but on the good side of casual, I love playing Ness and Donkey Kong because it just makes them so frustrated. Especially Donkey Kong, if you're up a stack, you can just pick them up and walk off the side of a map. I've had people throw controllers into hardwood floors from doing that. And like, I'm really not that much of a troll in other games, but God, I love it in Melee. And I've never played Smash 4.
I think that means you're really a troll, but other games don't allow you to be one. Because the whole lesson of this game was that it allows you to be yourself via gameplay.
That is true. I'm gonna cram this in here. I've mentioned Overwatch in every single podcast so far to see if you guys would catch it or not. I'm just gonna kind of cram this one in. I get really mad when people pick troll picks and like in games now though, which like I shouldn't get mad because it is just a game. But yeah, I have no idea why. Yeah, I am getting old. Goddamn. But yeah, so I don't know why Melee exists in a separate video game universe for me.
Nice.
So if you listen to this podcast and you're a Torbjorn main, fuck you. Cut that, please.
No.
Thanks for making more work for me.
I'm so sorry.
Don't cut it, Chris. You don't deserve it.
All right, Kyle. Who is your favorite character to play?
Well, so Smash 64, I didn't play. Smash Melee, I didn't play. Smash Brawl, didn't play.
All right, cut all of this.
For Wii U, I started playing last May. I am exactly the sort of player of Smash that Nintendo wanted to keep, and when they nerfed Brawl. I am the anti-subject of this documentary. I want to show up to a party, eat a slice of pizza, and before wiping the grease from my hands, I want to be playing Kirby as a defensive character and just like dropping like a brick everywhere, pissing people off. I don't care about tournament brackets. I don't care about frames. I don't care about wave dashing, whatever the fuck that is. I am what you call a camper. My mains are Kirby because he's annoying and bouncy, and I love the thing where he sucks in the other people. I also play a lot of Zelda when I really want to piss people off. Zelda in the Wii U game, because she's terrible, and I can just rain down directed projectiles on people and just annoy the shit out of them. And then when I'm really playing, it's usually like Zero Suit Samus because she's like all fast and shit. Or
Auga.
Or I kind of got good with Sheik, and I kind of got good with Bayonetta, but like I'm just awful at this game. Like I play this game socially. I play this game like I don't know. Like this is a relationship I have with all console games, but like the easier and less involved I can be with a game, the more I like it. Unless it's Civilization. That's my one game now.
So wait, is Smash for Wii U the most recent one?
Yes.
Yeah.
They haven't yet released a Switch yet, which is...
Though it has been announced.
They are waiting to goose the sales when eventually people stop buying Switches for Zelda.
You mean for the entire like first 6 months of its release, it was just a $300 Zelda machine?
Yeah, it was great. I didn't play it because I don't play video games, but I watched people play it, and it looked great.
Oh, it did. I owned it. It was amazing. I still haven't beaten it.
Yeah, I'm saying own past tense?
No, I still own it, but I have not beaten it.
I have a friend at Yale who got it over spring break. Oh, I have a friend at college. Please no reference to the satanic school that brought us together.
God, where did you go to school, you East Coast elite?
I've already mentioned university once in this podcast. We have to strip it out. I have a friend who is in school right now and got the game over break, and like he deliberately got it over spring break because he knew that if he did not 100% it in those 2 weeks, he simply would not graduate. So he's like 95% at it at this point.
Wow.
Which is just like I was watching him do systematic sweeps of the map. And I'm just like, this is the sort of shit I cannot do. Put me alone in a room with a keyboard for 3 days and like shove ramen under the door, I'm fine. But like, no. I'm not gonna go running around looking for Korok seeds under like pebbles at the bottom of wells. Like Nintendo just has a completely fucked up relationship with time investment. As evinced by the game, which is the subject of the documentary. And god damn it, we're not talking about Zelda no more.
All right, so I do in fact main Corrin. That is the name of the character.
Corn.
What's a
Corn?
What's
What
a
kind of Midwesterner are you?
Bayonetta is
she's DLC for Wii U.
Yeah. So she's the protagonist of like Nintendo's, I don't want to say only successful M-rated franchise, but
only successful M-rated franchise.
Yeah.
It's like if you made Devil May Cry, but you used all of the physics suggested by One Piece, and then you made it arbitrarily goth sexy because that demographic hasn't been serviced in a while. And then you made magic happen because our generation was ruined by J.K. Rowling.
Interesting.
People
I'll
really
probably
like
play
it.
Duck Hunt when I play it, but whatever.
Oh, Duck Hunt! I also love Duck Hunt. Like I said, troll characters only.
Yeah, Smash 4 has some of the. A lot of Melee purists do not like Smash 4 at all.
There are too many people.
I love it. They're such fun characters. Like Bowser becomes so much fun in this game. Who else? King DDD's a ton of fun. Like Rosalina and Luma, Bowser Jr., Greninja, Bayonetta's a ton of fun. Little Mac, Villager.
Every character in the game.
There are too many people. How do you keep track of all of them?
There's like 50 something, I think.
There are 58.
Wow. Wow.
That's stupid.
Yep, it is.
Well, we haven't touched this documentary in like 15 minutes.
It's almost like we don't want to.
So can we talk about how the majority of the B-roll, in quotations, footage was just still images, that was probably the third or fourth image for lonely scene on Google Images.
What? I didn't even notice that.
Really?
No.
It happened a lot when they were in when they were interviewing Isaiah, and it was a phone interview, so they didn't have any footage to pair with the audio. So it was just like,
oh, that was weird when they were
when
like
he was talking about like, the girl that he was obsessed with.
Yeah, it was. That was a
they were
really
just
weird segment.
panning over DeviantArt, but those were his drawings, weren't they? That was the documentary definitely suggested it. I don't know if they said it, but that was what I took away. Because they mentioned like I've seen some of his drawings or something. I don't know.
Okay.
The part that weirded me out was when they were doing the audio interview, but they were just panning across that chair with like the microphone in it, like they were expecting him to show up. He just went, "Nope, no more."
Yeah.
Like, wait! Will you just talk to me on the phone?
The way they were talking about Isaiah, like earlier, the other interviewees, and it almost sounded like it was archival, like recordings of his voice. So I thought like Isaiah had passed away.
Yeah, I thought that too. I also thought that about Azin because he wasn't in the documentary at all.
That was weird. I wonder why they weren't
honestly,
able to get his...
having Azin keep popping up but not interviewed was such a good hook to be like, well, you're bored now, but there's tragedy to come. And honestly, it also made me respect him a lot more. I'm like, oh, you're the cool, mysterious one. You're too good for this shit. I bet you're the white Power Ranger.
So Azin's real name is Christopher McMullen.
Oh, all of their names are great. Who is Mango's name? It's like Joseph Marquez or something.
Yeah, Marquez, Joseph Marquez.
I learned that he named his child.
He has a baby?
He's 26. He's the same age that I am. And he has a child that he named Joseph Mango Marquez.
No.
His kid's middle name is Mango, which I can't decide if I love it or hate it. Much like I can't decide whether or not I would like to be around Mango or completely hate being around Mango.
Yeah. Can we talk about who our favorite people interviewed were, like wife excluded, like favorite and least favorite, whether it's because we like them or just something about their depiction?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Connor?
Oh, shit. Okay.
Top and bottom.
Top and bottom. I actually thought...
Unmain?
Yeah, hold on. Give me 1 second, because I'm going to go to the Smash Brothers Wikipedia page. And
don't worry, they don't use their player names. They use their real names, because that would be too easy.
I think mine is somewhere between Korean DJ and PC Chris. I think it's because they actually gave like a decent backstory for how they got into the game. So they seemed like the most human people. And also when discussing the game, besides wife, seemed the most well-adjusted to talking about it mostly in the past. And I actually have a lot of respect for Mewtwo King because so Jason Zimmerman, who goes by Mewtwo King, has Asperger. I'm gonna look it up and make sure it's either
he has a diagnosis.
Yeah, he has. I'm trying to figure out if it's. Do you say Asperger's syndrome or do you just say Asperger's? What's the most proper way to address?
So the whole nomenclatura has been removed from official medical usage, so I think you're probably good with either.
Okay. Yes.
Asperger's is not really a thing anymore. Wikipedia says syndrome.
Okay, I'll say that then. So I'll go back to it. So Jason Zimmerman, who goes by Mewtwo King, was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, and they do make it a point to address it in the documentary. But you can tell even in the reflective interviews with like the guys who are a bit more grown up that he was probably treated pretty poorly. I as a result of that, because like he is the one who didn't have a crew and just sort of showed up to tournaments by himself, and he spent a lot of time on his own or with just one other person memorizing charts and things like that. But I don't know. I actually went and watched some older interviews with him and then some more recent ones, and he did get a lot more comfortable. And he had the most heartwarming one because it does seem like he really found like good friends in the community once he had gone to a few more things, and that like especially PC Chris sort of took him into his circle, and they were able to be friends. I don't know. It was the most like dramatic portion of it of this 4-hour long documentary. So I think that they forced me to get emotionally invested a little bit there. But
it's called Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, that's probably it. Least favorite's got to be Ken, though. I think that Ken is just so I don't want to say the documentary depicted him as one thing or another, because he did do all of these interviews and he sat there and reflected on this as a 27, 28-year-old person. And he just seems so bitter about all of these fights, and like he's had a fine life and career as being the first professional person. Like he was on a season of Survivor. He still goes back to tournaments and does like guest appearances and things like that. Like he's doing fine, and he's mad and just like bitter and resentful over him not like wave dashing in the right direction in one fight from at what would have been the time like almost a decade ago. I don't know. I had a hard time actually keeping with the first part and the middle part because I didn't really like Ken all that much, and because he was, as we had talked about earlier, like sort of the one through line that we have up to episode 5, it was just hard to stick with it.
Kyle?
Yeah, like, I don't know. When I was watching this documentary, I was constantly asking myself the question of like, if I had a kid, would I want them, if I had a kid and you had the choice between them playing professional Smash or professional football, which I would prefer? I know that doesn't really answer the question, but like professional football players, like 100% of them wind up with chronic traumatic encephalopathy, right? Versus like Smash, where you wind up in this like insular world where nobody who's not in your like click value the extreme mental athleticism involved. And like Mewtwo King was the only person who seemed like he really got anything out of the game beyond like, I am good at this thing, right? Like I really love Mewtwo King, like the arc, I guess, but like I did like Korean DJ. I think the best piece of filmmaking in the movie was when they were talking about how he went from like lame to really good over him playing a violin montage of the Smash theme.
Agreed.
That was so cool.
It was like the like Eye of the Tiger of the Smash world. That was so good, and I like. I also put him in the same camp as Wife, in that he's much more, not much more, but like pretty well adjusted.
I'll take it back. It wasn't super cool. It was the coolest thing in the documentary. So contextually, it was amazing because we got some amount of filmmaking out of this 4-hour and 18-minute saga.
I wish they'd talked more about Armada because he seems really interesting. He's like the only non-American that the documentary spends much time on.
Oh, good news, Kyle. So the follow-up sequel documentary being made to be released this spring is actually chronicles Armada and a few other European players. So you will be able to see that on our follow-up episode, The Smash Brothers.
Connor, are you good to wrap up this podcast in December?
Oh, I didn't get the joke. I'm sorry.
I was implying that I would rather end the show than.
Oh no, it's coming out in a few weeks. We're starting it now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I keep forgetting it's not currently summer. This year has gone very quickly for me.
Yes. Chris, what about you? But I also want to talk about the horrible treatment of Milk Tea and DOH.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Also, while we're at it, Mewtwo King.
Yeah.
like the documentary managed just to spin some pretty shitty straw into gold for his story, but like his nickname is the Robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in that terrible graphic that they have.
Oh yeah.
Korean DJ who's like pure energy or whatever, PC Chris and Mewtwo
Yeah.
King.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just overlay like
like just computer code.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do like an elemental matchup where like Korean DJ's fire and PC Chris is like ice or water, and then he is just circuit boards.
Oh.
Also, it's so fucking cool that he plays like all of the Smash games competitively at the same time.
It's insane. Like it's yeah.
Like he's like Mango. The documentary like leaves on the note of like Mango is probably the best of all time, except he can't beat Armada. But like Mewtwo King can beat everybody in every game.
He's
not being constantly abused by the crowd.
He's made over $200,000 playing this. That's amazing.
Well, and the other thing too is, was it? Let me. Mewtwo. So Azin was also like very successful at like playing other games like professionally.
Really?
Yeah, Azin bounced back and forth.
Was Mewtwo King one of those two where he played other games professionally?
Yeah,
he only plays Smash.
Okay.
Yeah. But like,
I
don't know, the difference between Smash 64 and Smash 4, the documentary implies to me, and therefore I have accepted, is huge and should not be discarded.
Yeah, so returning back to my favorite and least favorite players, I think, or my main player was, I really enjoyed Korean DJ. I think just because they had like humanizing like clips of him playing the violin. I was like, oh, that's cool.
He's a well-rounded person.
Yeah.
He does other things besides play this game. And I think that's part of PC Chris's thing too, is like, even though wanting to be a professional skateboarder is also a very youthful ambition, like, oh, he does other things. He goes outside. He has like his skateboarding buddies and things like
that. And my least favorite was actually what's his face? They interview him a lot in the beginning.
Chillin' Dude.
Chillin' Dude.
Chillin' Dude.
Oh, no, sorry. I have a soft spot in my heart for Chillin' Dude because every time he appeared in a tournament, for some reason, he was wearing a jersey of the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. Like, I thought it was, he just has this Favre jersey, and it's like his lucky jersey. But then he has an Aaron Rodgers jersey in the later tournaments. I'm like, oh, it's just a thing that you do.
I don't know. For me, Chillin' Dude, like in his interviews, just kind of encapsulated like everything that I thought was like just so toxic about their.
Yeah, and the worst part was he like seems like he seems like he's a pretty normal person, but like he just oozes out this like standoffishness. And it seemed like he was the one that was most into like the East-West crew thing.
Yeah.
Like he seems like one of the things he got out of the game was like an enemy.
Chillin' Dude has definitely watched like a lot of like crime movies and a lot of gang movies, and he's like, I could do that. That's enough for me. But he only owns Green Bay Packers clothes. He's like, all right, I got to find something to make this work. Like,
and actually, another person who I thought was also very humanized was Chen. Am I not remembering his? He was the dude with the spiky hair who moved from East Coast to West Coast.
Yeah,
because he started.
Chu.
Yeah, Chu.
He had the single saddest line in the interviews for me. When he's like, when he left he was in a tournament and he was like, yeah, I'm afraid to beat Ken. I'm worried he'll like, not like me anymore and kick me out of his house.
Yeah, and I was like,
you should not be so invested in this game that you might become homeless because of it.
Well, he was dating Ken's sister.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So that's what it was so shocking to me. I was like, okay, that's great that you found like somebody that you're in love with and you moved across the country for them, like through this community. That's awesome. But then it was so like almost petty that they were holding these tournaments above their like personal like relationships that they had established there. And it was just, yeah, I don't know, really sad. So moving on, checking along. Are there any other
Milk Tea and DOA and
oh yeah, DOH.
DOH, yeah.
So there was one woman featured in the documentary.
Oh man.
And she seemed a bit over it, and the documentary seemed a bit over her, and that sucks. That's all I've got.
Yeah, so one of the things you notice watching this is that the language that is used by professional gamers from the middle of the 2000s is very sexually violent, very misogynistic, and while it's not shown on, sorry,
very homophobic as well.
Yeah, very homophobic. And they don't display any racism, but in interviews with one of the black players who's frequently interviewed, he does discuss, you know, the fact that there is like a lot of racist language at tournaments within the community. Rather than try to have any sort of serious discussion about this, they give Milk Tea, who is a female player from before, and DOH, who's the first like really good openly gay Smash player, this like maybe a 20-second interview and a really hokey and very distanced little bit where they like play this like vaudeville music and they're like, this is the part where we address the problems in our community. And it's just so condescending and seemed like they just really didn't care, but they were only doing this so that people couldn't say that they didn't talk about it. And the fact that like, you know, the only person that they really, so it was Mewtwo King and Chillin' Dude that they had talk about, you know, be sort of like in defense of the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, they take the guy who like his only social foundation is those communities, and then the one guy who's like super into the East Coast West Coast things, like I'll do anything for my Smash guys, and there's like, yeah, it's just part of the thing, like it is what it is, like maybe we should change it. And then much shorter time to the actual people who are going to be like targeted by that language, and there's like, yeah, this really sucks, wish someone would do something about it. And so it was just like, I don't know, it was very disheartening to see the fact that they recognize it as a problem, and because the communities who are targeted by this language don't make up all that much of the Smash community, they just didn't seem to care that much. So that to me was the most damning look into the culture that's been built around Smash, particularly Melee.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go over my notes. I wrote down, how many people are they going to call the greatest Smasher of all time?
Yeah, this is that narrative thing where they basically again are using the like MacGuffin plot, like who's gonna get the thing of being the best player of this game, and they all do.
The greatest Smasher in the world.
The greatest. Super Smash Bros. Melee is no longer an MLG.
It's a musical now. It's a rap-through musical about the history of the Super Smash Brothers.
But like, honestly, is that less plausible than a hip-hop musical about Alexander Hamilton?
Good point. I don't like Hamilton. I've made 3 jokes based off of lyrics from the Schuller sisters today, and I don't know what's going on with whatever. It's a stupid musical. Yeah, unsubscribe from us. I don't care.
Chris, this whole exchange needs to be removed.
Yeah.
Our 5 subscribers will flee. I, being one of them, will unsubscribe.
All right. Any other?
Thanks for sitting through this, people who have made it this far.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have more I could say, but I didn't take very good notes.
It's just very.
It's hard to pay attention over that period of time at you know.
Well, I would stop paying attention during the just the B-roll of like Smash.
Yes. I wanted to talk about this because this actually to me was one of the most interesting parts of it, because I had neighbors growing up who I was really good friends with, and their brother like wanted to play Halo in the MLG. So I really I distinctly remember his unbelievably difficult setup of hooking up the Xbox to both the TV and the capture card, which was then hooked up to the computer, which was recording from the capture card, which is also recording from the Xbox. And nowadays, that would seem like such a simple thing, but back in the day, I was like, oh my God, there are so many moving pieces here. And you just, I don't know. For me, it was amazing to see that we have evolved to Twitch in give or take 10 years, where we're overlaying people's faces and chat with a complete, like a high definition image of the game, and everything is being played at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, if you got 140p, you had a high definition capture card. Because, and that to me was like one of the coolest like little historical relics, but also the thing that made it the most unwatchable is because at least when you're watching a sports documentary or something, people might, do the thing where they fade it and they highlight one person, like, watch this person, he's going to do something cool, or like, here's famous athlete, follow him, her. In this, they didn't do that. So you had to sort of like look around the screen and figure out, especially when they were doing like battles of the same characters, it was impossible to tell who was who. But I spent more time, like a good 20 seconds, being like, okay, so we've got a Fox and we've got a Jigglypuff, and I'm trying to think back on the 6 people who play Fox who we're talking about right now. And I've already forgotten the name of the person who plays Jigglypuff. And I'm like, okay, now I've got it. Okay, now someone explain to me why this is cool to watch.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, that's the hard thing about, like, you don't know who you're supposed to be rooting for or who's playing, and, like, Melee is such a fast game and so, like, very technical. Like, I only know, like, the name of a couple. Like, I know what wave dashing is, and I know what L canceling is.
DI. They kept talking about DI after defining it once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was very... I think this goes into form a little bit more. It made it unclear who the target audience for this documentary was. Like, it seemed like it was trying to get, it was both for like the community, like the casual Smash and Melee community, but also to get people interested in this kind of historical view of competitive gaming, and it led to a small surge in competitive Melee. But because the whole first episode is like an overview of competitive Melee, and they only like tell you what a couple things are, like wave dashing and DI, and then like Wife is talking about like up tilts and down tilts, and like which are specific moves you can do on the controller. But I only know that because I play Smash Brothers, and so I imagine
the target audience.
Yeah, and I imagine that's very. But I don't think they know who their target audience is.
Well, I mean, there might be a slight disadvantage yet again for Samox being the person to make this, because when you're doing a documentary about a highly technical thing, it's often helpful to have a complete neophyte in the room, right? Like, what does this do? Is a useful question to ask when you're trying to explain it. And none of the people involved in making this documentary had to ask that about anything they were talking about.
I wonder if the sequel will. We're not going to watch the sequel.
Maybe.
Could
be a fun bonus
episode. I'm so far in that, like, I feel the anchor tied to my ankle.
You can't hold this against me if you watch. I'm not picking it. You guys will watch it on your own.
My firstborn child will have the middle name of Mango, and you will feel guilty every time I remind you.
I'm really excited to name my kid PC Chris. PC Chris Michael Shostak. Yeah. Oh wait, we don't say our last names. Bleep that. Sorry.
PC Chris Mongo Shakuskus.
Oh, can I make a plug real quick for someone that we talked about before? Because I know we talked a bit about Wife and how Wife does cool stuff and talks about things. Going back to Milk Tea, Lillian, so she's at _Lil Chen on Twitter, has been doing some really cool stuff. So she gave a TED Talk back in 2015 during the height of the Gamergate thing, sort of taking an odd middle ground thing where she discusses sexism that is I'm going to say is because even though it was very relevant and at the height of like a public discussion at the time, it still is very, very prevalent and something that needs to be addressed. But she comes at it from an interesting perspective where she puts empathy above identity or like tribalism, which I don't necessarily know that I am fully on board with, but I like where she's coming from with it. And I don't know, I think it's worth a listen. And she also tweets about cool stuff that isn't just Smash related things too. It discusses a lot of good issues with achieving social justice in the gaming community, and you know how there's a bigger community than you might think, and the fact that leaving gamers who do shitty things like this on their own isn't the way to go. So shout out to her.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think elevating her is a admirable move. I think like this documentary fell into the same trap that a lot of things that discuss, you know, professional sports, professional whatever, is that, you know, you naturally want to focus on the top, right? This focus is on like the 5 gods, the 3 legends. Like there's a bunch of nomenclature for it, but like by focusing only on the very best players, you kind of lose who actually plays Smash in the mix, right? Because like there were like hundreds of people in the background of these, and I think a lot of them were probably maybe more interesting than the people that only play Smash.
Oh yeah.
And then do we want to talk about, or I'll just make a note that I thought it was cool that the kind of emerging technology at the time, and I guess a little bit on the tail end, but like YouTube allowed this very independent documentary to be made and distributed to millions of people, which I thought was cool, at least.
Oh yeah, I think it's awesome that you can turn $12,000 into, you know, delivery pizza and a documentary.
Yeah, fans really did like the fact that this did give publicity to the community that they were a part of. So I think I'm the only person to give this below 2 stars on Letterboxd and to write a review about it. But
probably the only person who knows about the documentary who's given it less than 2 stars.
Okay, fair enough. But you know, people were like, Smashers were super excited about this, and it did make me feel almost bad for giving it such a bad review when I read the comments. And for better or for worse, you know, saying that this is like a really honest depiction of their community, and they're glad that it's not just, you know, like basement dwelling weebs and things like that who are being made the face of gaming and things like that, and that they think this is like a really good thing for getting people more involved with playing games and coming out to tournaments and things like that. So, no, yeah. I don't think as hypercritical assholes like we are that it maybe had the same effect on us, but for maybe the kid who wants to, you know, play Smash but is afraid, you know, it's like high school, late middle school or something, but doesn't want to look lame or whatever, knows that there's, you know, people out there in a big community and a lot of friends and things like that who do things like go on road trips and go to Disneyland and stuff together. So
yeah, that was really interesting. Like in a lot of ways, the friendships that were built around this game seemed really normal to me. Even while the activity itself is kind of insane, right? Like hundreds and hundreds of hours to a obsolete game on a system that you constantly have to like fix and replace. There's like a certain like Millennium Falcon-ish quality to that, right? Like, I don't know. There is a really, really fun story to be told here. I just wish the documentary was a little better at realizing what was endearing about what the community is, and not focused quite so much on like the interpersonal drama that is largely expressed via, you know, technical gobbledygook.
Yeah, like that scene where after after the
Sorry, I just know exactly what you're gonna say.
after the game got small again and they were back to like kind of private tournaments where they were all just like playing. What were they playing? Like not Red Rover, but
they all went outside and played
played
tag, which is this
Yeah.
scene from a Yorgos Lanthimos movie, but it's actually a part of this documentary.
Yeah, for real.
but
Why
like
won't you just go outside and play?
yeah, like I think well, I guess let's just do closing thoughts now. It sounds like we're starting to wrap up anyways. Any other last comments before we sign off?
I guess about the tag thing, I think it says more about me than about the actual people it was depicting, that I was kind of like chuckling and being a little bit of a snob during that scene. So I'm like, oh, that looks kind of silly, but the hell with it. They're having fun. They're getting out there and like, yeah, like you said, it was a very like simple way to see like, they have a lot of fun. This is a good community, and that obviously, we've touched a bit on some of the problems, but like they're out there having fun. They're making friends. To hell with it. Hell with people who are gonna like, say that like, oh, these nerds playing their video games. They're doing stuff. They're having fun. Let them live.
For all the strangeness of organizing your life around this video game, like in reality, childhood isn't all that different, right? Like,
yeah,
like you find people find things that are fascinating to them, whether it's memorizing plays for football. That's a sport, right?
yeah. Or like organizing like, like baseball games, like neighborhood baseball games, something like that. It's still just getting people together. It's just what you like, what you're good at.
Yeah.
We just have a more Americanized view of the neighborhood getting together for a ball game.
Sure.
Or getting together with your friends to watch some movies and then record yourselves talking about them and distributing it on the internet.
Shit, we're going to have to make a documentary about us.
We didn't really get into the toxic masculinity that hard. I think I'm probably fine with it as is. Like,
okay.
I'll just bring some of it up in closing thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah. So, closing thoughts, Connor?
Yeah, so for all the things that make this documentary difficult to put my eyes at and receive through them, and for all the focus on just these occasionally insufferable or overly technical players of the game, I think that this discussion has been helpful in sort of getting the frustration of that to the side and getting to, like what Kyle was saying, the story that maybe wasn't meant to be told, but the story that was told anyway. And while this movie maybe, while this collection of
this film,
yes, the Smash Brothers film,
which maybe contains product placement, like everything Chris has done.
Yes. Sorry, I lost my train of thought when you said that.
Sorry, I realized
it's okay.
Have interjected.
No, it's all good. Let's see. So, as much as this documentary didn't make me more sympathetic to the players of the game or to the communities of the time, it did make me rethink the sort of like the way that I look at organized gaming or organized conventions and things like that. Is like, even though they're not something I enjoy, there's no reason that I should be as snobby about it or as weird, given that like I maybe like the same things in different contexts or with different people, but whatever. Everyone gets the same things out of this that they get with, like we're saying, organized sports or some sort of other activity. And if they're, they're still forming these friendships out of them, they're doing something they're good at, to hell with that. I think I have more sympathy for the general community as a result of watching this. So in some way or another, damn it, this accomplished its goal. This is an egg sitting on the shelf. It has not hatched yet.
Bird.
Yeah, it's a bird, because it's just like, I don't know. There are so many things about it that are technically miserable, both the runtime, the way that it's shot, the lack of any sort of through line. But I don't know. Like, I still sat through it. I didn't turn it off, and it wasn't because this podcast was coming up. Like, I don't know. It's an egg. I think it's in the class of avians.
It might be a dinosaur.
It has wings.
Not be. Cool.
Kyle.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. Sorry, I should have said this documentary doesn't have legs, but it does have wings. Oh, I hate that. Stop it. Oh, I hate when you do that.
Sorry, that was just my soul leaving my body. I'm so glad that wasn't a part of your copy, Connor. Chris, if you edit it in, we're done. We're over. My turn?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, like the Smash Brothers is a thing that you could call a documentary without it being technically untrue. It's not great. It definitely suffers from like the fact that the person that put it together, well, you know, we don't know how involved they are as you know, filmmakers beyond this. Like there's a certain tackiness to it, tacky in the sense of like unfinished. But like sort of in spite of itself, it gets at some interesting features of not only Smash Melee and Smash Melee's Elite, but sort of the community and social norms that undergird the game. Like a feature of Smash's appeal is that it allows for deeply personal gameplay styles to develop, and in turn makes the characters more and more personally invested. It pulls them deeper in, and we in this documentary sort of got a cross section of the uber Smash player and that community, which is interesting. One of the things I found most interesting about it was that for all of the strangeness of, you know, a bunch of adult-ish people renting out a convention center to play a 15-year-old game on random weekends of the year for money, a lot of the social dynamics felt very familiar to me from, you know, music groups that I've been in or sports that I've played, right? There's a constant contest and dominance game being played. And I wish that the documentary had teased that out more instead of just sort of taking it as a given that that is the way that the game is expressed in social contexts. I think like ultimately the documentary doesn't really have the teeth it needs to chew the bite that it takes, and that is frustrating as a viewer. But like I didn't hate the time I spent watching it. I definitely should not have binged it. I should have, you know, consumed it over a week rather than a night and a half. And if I had done that, I might have enjoyed it better. As far as rankings go, I will give this a gray duck hunt.
Damn, you stole my joke.
It is again not really a duck. This is a common theme with Chris properties. But,
no,
but like I don't know. It is like a duck in some ways. It is filmic. It is film-ish. And it's like kind of a good time. I don't regret the time. So put that on your Oscar bait poster. The Smash Brothers. I don't regret watching it. Yeah, it's a great duck hunt from me. Good luck, Chris.
Yeah, for me it was I think a lot of the underlying themes are really interesting. Kind of its ability to generate conversations about destigmatizing communities that have been kind of deemed as like socially less than, like gaming and other communities at large. I think it's good, like Connor said, to to kind of give a window into that. And I think that's something, just communities that have been kind of marked as other will, as our generation kind of ages, will be hopefully more and more accepted. Because yeah, like Connor said, like if they're having fun, building relationships, and doing something that they love, let them live, as our generation likes to say. However, that's not to say that yeah, those communities or don't have some deeply flawed problems that definitely need to be overcome. And I think this documentary has some prime examples of that, and hopefully can generate useful discussion. So I think it is, besides entertaining, it is useful to some extent in that regard. So yeah, I mean, I picked it. I regretted picking it, but
I'm sorry we made you feel bad about this.
Yeah, it's okay, buddy.
Do better next time.
Yeah, we're doing Nicolas Cage. We're just setting him up for failure.
Nicolas Cage has never done. Oh, that's not true. Nicolas Cage has never done. No, that's not true either. Yeah, Chris, just be careful.
No, there are some good Nicolas Cage movies.
He has an Oscar, does he not?
I don't think he does.
He does.
I think he does.
What?
Yeah, Nicolas
Like,
Cage was like
early
a
Cage-
serious actor in the 90s.
He's still
He's a
like
serious man too.
He's a technically good actor who takes every job that he's offered because he's in the hole by millions of dollars.
Oh, Leaving Las.
He Best Actor winner in 1996 for Leaving Las Vegas, and Best Actor nominee for adaptation.
Were you even
adaptation? Sorry.
Were you even alive?
I was alive in 96. I was a year old.
Fetus?
Yeah, so my rating, I'll give it a color swap. So in Smash Bros, you can have like alternate skins if you mash like one of the buttons to change colors for your character. And so it's not Duck Hunt, but it's a Goose Hunt. So like so you just hit the button until you get a goose with the dog. So it's not entirely a goose, but it's a goose and a dog. So enjoyable because of the dog, but also
Great.
a goose. Yep.
I like that. Okay. So Connor has just lost power.
Oh.
So we're gonna sign this off real quick.
All right. So thank you for joining us on this episode of the Duck Duck Grey Duck. We hope you didn't have to suffer as much as we did. And this week's episode was brought to you by Kyle. Who was it brought to us by?
Oh shit. Grey Poupon duck. Fine mustard. That's also a duck.
Ooh. I'll be getting my Grey Poupon duck on Friday.
From Blue Apron, our newest sponsor. Blue Apron, bringing you fine meal prep, primarily to podcast listeners between the ages of 18 and employed.
All right. So signing off. Duck.
Grey duck. Sorry, Connor.